much for joining us at Notts ACS's first live event, literally our first conference in the history of ACS. And we're really proud. We're really happy. We're really happy that this is going ahead. Let's introduce ourselves before we get into it. So my name's David. I'm the president for this year.
I'm Temi. I'm vice president.
Fantastic. So just to give you a bit of background on the theme and just what this conference is all about. So the Nottingham ACS has one clear vision in mind for this conference: to show Black students that their background is something to be proud of, that their background is a strength to be celebrated and leveraged on, as opposed to be viewed as a weakness and diluted, or even worse, dismissed. So today we're going to have a range of speakers. We're going to have a range of speakers speaking today on issues that are affecting the Black community at the moment, networking as well, asking them how has it been leaving university, how has it been currently being at university, or preparing for the world of work, and also dealing with some sociological questions under the status quo. Please use our hashtag Notts ACS on Twitter. Put it on your live story at ACS on Instagram as well. Put it on your story, put it on everything. We're really, really happy, and we're really, really excited that everything is happening like it is. So on to our first set of speakers. So I'm going to be introducing our speakers now. The first person I'm going to be introducing is Esther. And Esther was the former ACS president for Oxford. She is an Oxford graduate. She graduated with the first doing PPE, if I'm not mistaken. And now she's literally dominating the world of work at the moment. And also works with a social enterprise based in Nigeria, promoting fashion and bringing it to the international stage. So that's our first speaker. Our second speaker is Nottingham's very own Toby. He was a former ACS vice president for Nottingham. 2 years ago now? Yeah, 2 years ago now, I think. He might sound old. So 2 years ago now, and he did, I think, economics, if I'm not mistaken. Did economics, came out with the 2-1, and is now dominating the field as well. And he too is engaged with social enterprise around the world. We're back. Social enterprise around the world regarding and looking at, building up social enterprise and building up the majority of people under the status quo. And then we've got our last person. His name is David, and he was the former events officer for the society as well. 2 years ago, I think in the same committee that Toby was in for the ACS. And he is part of a group called Empower. And Empower are based in Africa, and they look to just increase the everyday living and increase the quality of living for people based in Africa and bring issues from Africa to the international stage. So those are the speakers we've got for our first set. So I think we're going to go live to them now, and I hope everybody can see them. Are we good? Yeah, we are good. Oh, look at everyone. How's everyone doing?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, good. How was it?
How have we been? That's the question. How have we been? Anyway, so once again, thank you so much for joining us. It is a privilege to have you guys. We know you guys are busy, and we know you guys have a wealth of things to be doing right now, but you're here with us. So let's just crack straight on with it. So we're going to be asking you a series of questions. We're going to be having a discussion and enlightening discussion. Firstly, but by the way, anyway, what university did you go to? I mean, it's self-explanatory. What university did you go to, and what degree did you do? Starting with Toby.
Okay, cool. So I went to the University of Nottingham. I'm missing it dearly, and I studied economics. So yeah,
Fantastic.
That was me.
Esther?
Yes, I went to Oxford. I probably should say I'm also missing it dearly. And I studied philosophy, politics, and economics. And I didn't actually get a first. I got a 2-1.
wow.
But no, I'll claim the first. I will take it. I'll claim
it. All right, then. And David.
Yeah, so I'm still currently at the University of Nottingham. I'm very happy to be here, and I study electrical and electronic engineering.
Oh, fantastic. So for the two graduates, Esther and Toby, how has life been as a graduate beyond university, entering the world of work? I mean, I don't envy your position.
Well, if you take it back to March, it was a very anticlimactic end to our university experience. It just ended, and that marked the end of what 15 plus years of formal education, and you just thrust into the world of work. It's exciting. It can be nerve-wracking sometimes, but you really are the narrator of your own story, and that's how it feels. So like every day is a new day, and everyone's taking their own different journeys. You're no longer meeting in George Green Library for a link up.
For real.
Everyone's doing their own thing and at their own pace. So yeah.
Esther, how's it been for you?
Yeah, completely agree with what Toby said. Like literally, you press submit for your final piece of work, dissertation, essay, whatever it is, and that's it. It's you and your God, you and yourself in that room, and you're finished with uni. But yeah, work has been crazy. It's been really exciting because I feel like the things that you've been building up to in your life, like the person that you've been building yourself up to be, can kind of, come to fruition in a sense. So that's very exciting. It's also been very stressful because work is not a joke and they don't care about you the way school cares about you. So as Toby's already said, you kind of have to be the author of your own destiny. You have to kind of shape your life in the way that you see fit. So yeah, it's been exciting. It's been stressful. Yeah.
Okay, good. So, by the way, actually, we didn't actually get a chance to actually know. So, where do you guys actually work now? If you're comfortable with sharing. So starting with Toby, where do you work now?
So currently I'm working for a foundation called Rare Foundation, and that's helping with the social mobility with a lot of Black and Asian heritage students. So that's where I'm working specifically. And then it's just within the banking industry. So I'm helping with their mock ACs, their CVs, just trying to get them into a lot of these industries in which Black and Asian people tend to be underrepresented. So yeah, I start work officially in January, but now this is what is taking up the bulk of my time, and I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, fantastic. Esther, what about you?
Yeah, so I currently work at a private equity firm. So that's within the financial sphere also. Which is, yes, very interesting, very intense, but I'm excited. And I also have a company, I guess. So it works with entrepreneurs in Nigeria to produce ethical fashion and to kind of bring Nigerian entrepreneurship, Nigerian tailorship skills, and just Nigerian fashion to the forefront. So that's called Seven Asher.
Oh, fantastic. I was even going to ask you about that, about your organizations that you're working with at the moment. And I think you guys have literally just nipped out the bud really as to what they stand for. But on the topic of Nigeria, it is ironic that we spoke about that. So I'm sure that everyone's seen what has been going on in Nigeria over like the past few, let's say, months and weeks. That's actually probably even could say over the past decades. But I just wanted us to have a conversation about it. I think it would be wrong for us not to. So what is everyone's thoughts on the NSARS movement? And in light of what's happened yesterday as well, has your opinion changed? Has it shifted? Or has it been re-endorsed by what's happened yesterday? Let's start with David.
Yeah, so I would say, obviously, I think compared to a few weeks ago, or not a few weeks ago, but a few months ago when the Black Lives Matter movement started, it's the same thing here. Nigerian lives are Black lives. So the same energy that we used when, police in America were killing people is the same energy we should be using now. I think I've been very encouraged by the response of young people right now in this country, because it's a thing where, it's become very clear to me that we're not comfortable sitting down and being told this is what it is, and we're going to take it as what we're given. We're going to stand up and we're going to fight for what we believe in. And so that's really encouraged me that people actually, believe in these causes and are standing up, going up to protest, creating awareness. And I think especially if you're a diasporan in the UK, from Nigeria, Ghana, wherever you're from, it's very easy to kind of see Nigeria or any African country as, say, like a December holiday destination. But, when you go there in December and then you leave, these people that are still there are still going through everything that they're going through daily. So it's so important that us in the privileged positions that we are, because we're not on the front lines. We weren't at Lekki Tollgate yesterday. None of us were, but we can be here and, create awareness. So, yeah, definitely encouraging what's happening so far. And long may it continue.
Thank you. Thank you so much, David, for that. Toby, any comments?
Yeah, I just want to echo what David's pretty much said in terms of the imagery that has been coming out of Nigeria has been very harrowing. A lot of Nigerians waking up across the globe have been genuinely heartbroken. And this whole End SARS movement, it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen in a vacuum. And it's really a precipitant of these really extractive institutions that have really made up Nigeria. So when we see this End SARS movement, we shouldn't just see it as End SARS, but the movement is a cry out for institutional reform. And we should be, especially as the diasporans, we should be there to really amplify these guys' voices. A lot of us like to crawl up into our shells and think, what can we do? We're not there on the front lines, as David says, but we should really use social media to amplify the voices.
Yeah.
Right? That's really the first step that you can take, and it really does reverberate around the world. So definitely know that you do have power within social media, and use that tool to your advantage, because the bloodshed that happened yesterday, we really don't want it to continue. Nigeria is not a place where, we really don't want to see innocent people just dying. So
and that's on period. Like, and that's just a straight fact. Like, that's just a straight fact. Esther, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what David and Toby have already said. And honestly, it's quite, I don't know, I feel two ways about it, because on one hand, it's just so sad to see Black people across the globe, whether you're at home in the motherland or whether you're in a quote unquote foreign land, the things, the trials, the tribulations that we have to go through. And these aren't even just trials and tribulations. It's like your life is at risk. So on that hand, it's really, really upsetting to see that all brought to the forefront. But at the same time, it's great that it is being brought to the forefront, because this is not a new thing. It's not like only yesterday people in Nigeria were being killed by SARS. It's not like only a few months ago people in America are being killed by police. These are things that have been going on. As Tony kind of alluded to, these are things that have been set in place by institutions. These things are not independent acts. They are acts that come from institutions that are embedded into the globe. So I think it's really nice to see that, people are standing up, people are seeing it for what it is. Now that everybody's at home and we have time and we have social media, we should all be shining our eyes and seeing what's really going on. And it's really nice to see that, people are fighting for a change. And I just really hope and pray that the people who lost their lives, it won't be in vain, and things won't just return to how they've been for the past how many years.
Just a quick question. I think just on that, on what you just said, Esther, and this is for everyone on the panel. Do we think that there's ever going to be an actual change in Nigeria, or indeed in Africa? Because we don't see this only happening in Africa. Africa's not the anomaly in the haystack. It's a continental thing. Like, it's going around the continent, in Congo, in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, in so many other countries. Do we ever see this type of humanitarian crisis ever evading from Africa? Like, are we ever going to see it leave? Or do we think that we are ever going to see it leave? Let's start with Toby.
No, do you know what it was? There was a certain post on Twitter that said something along the lines of "Africa's heart's bleeding," right? And then you had the hashtag Ghana and Ivory Coast and Congo, etc. So it's easy to feel almost overwhelmed. But at the end of the day, you have to start from somewhere, and this can be the start of the revolution. And and we have to be optimistic behind it. There will be a lot of people that will lack the optimism. But if you look at Nigeria and look at the different sects that Nigeria has, in terms of whether it's Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, Christian, Muslim, a lot of these people are coming together and fighting for one cause. And that's the way in which you have to look at it. You can't be pessimistic about something of this nature. You really have to almost galvanize that energy and move forward. Because we really don't want it. Like, you can be inactive and not stay and choose to stay and allow things to almost evolve naturally, or you can get behind the cause and really expedite this whole process. And I think that's what people should be doing. Let's not look at Africa and say it's this forgotten place or godforsaken place that will always stay here. Let's look at this and saying, look, over the next few years, it can be a place that we don't just visit in December, but it can be a place in which we can start families in. And I think that's the mentality that a lot of people should start to have.
Thank you. Esther, any thoughts on the question I just asked?
Yeah, first of all, WOD. Literally completely agree. And I think once you give up hope, there's no point fighting for anything. Once you give up hope, it's like your future is gone, because the future is based on hope. We have not seen tomorrow, we have not seen next week, but we are hoping for it, you know? So I think, yes, I'm going to say yes to the question. I do think that Nigeria, Africa, the world in general can change. But I do believe that the only way it changes is if, first of all, we maintain hope that it can. And second of all, we keep on stepping on their necks until change occurs. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
I would love us to spend so much more on this topic, but we need to move on. But I just think, just as like a closing remark on this conversation anyway, just to be encouraged and to dust our sandals and stand up and continue walking. Like the fight has never been over. The fight literally from the moment at which we gained independence, the fight was never over. And it's so sad because I was watching a documentary, Journey to an African Colony, and I was watching it, and it was so sad because I had noticed that from the 1700s, Nigeria, and probably the most of Africa, has never known a peacetime. You understand? Like our forefathers up to great grandfathers have never known peace, and it's a really, really, really sad. It's a really sad rhetoric that the African colony has to abide with, but. Nevertheless, like everyone has said, please, do not stop with the activism. Do not stop mobilizing on social media. Do not stop bringing the horrific scenes, even though they are graphic, to the international stage, because the international stage needs to see it. But bringing this back to the UK, so the theme of this conference is IdentityX, is looking at exploring the Black identity in the UK. And definitely within the UK, there seems to be this rhetoric of Black excellence. This idea that Black excellence should be the watchword for the community. And it's so interesting that I've been watching a few things. I've been hearing a lot of discussions around this Black excellence. And a lot of people are just like, it's not a positive rhetoric that the community should be adopting. So I just wanted to see what are our thoughts on that. Starting with Esther, what are our thoughts on this whole idea of Black excellence, and is it a good idea for the community to adopt it as a watchword?
So I think the whole point of Black excellence, the hashtag, the movement, whatever you want to call it, was to fight against negative stereotypes that do consume Black people, unfortunately. So I think in that sense, obviously it's a good thing. We're actively fighting against the negative perceptions that people have placed on us. That being said, though, I do not believe that Black excellence should be the standard of value. So it's not when you're Black and excellent that you become valuable to the community, or it's not when you're Black and excellent that you become an exception. So like, oh, the police can't target me, I'm Black and I'm excellent. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that shouldn't be our standard of value. Yes, we should acknowledge it. Yes, we should fight against all of the negative stereotypes that have been designed to hold us down by showing, despite this, as Maya Angelou said, still I rise. I think it was her that said that. Yeah. But yeah, I do think that we just shouldn't attach the entirety of our value as a Black community to Black excellence, because Black mediocrity is just as valuable. Black less than excellence is just as valuable.
David, what are your thoughts on that?
Definitely agree with what Esther is saying. I think on one hand, you can see Black excellence as, you see someone doing well and in whatever they're doing, and you're encouraged, inspired. Like, I see Toby as Black excellence and I'm inspired by him. But on the other hand, like Esther was saying, it's not the benchmark for how you value our lives, how you see our lives. You shouldn't see someone that's Black and because they're doing well, treat them with more respect than someone who's not doing as well. And, I guess the media would want to put people like, for example, Stormzy, Marcus Rashford, people like that are doing well and having come from so much. They look at these people and it's like, okay, they're doing well, so why are you complaining? What are you shouting about? Like all of those things. And that's the kind of negative connotations that come with that word. So yeah.
Toby, I see you inquisitively thinking about the question.
Yeah, it's a big question, because I was having this discussion with my friend the other day. So I think it's very important that Black people are afforded heroes that are reflected by our identities, right? And I think the term Black excellence provides a great platform for that. And I was struggling to see the almost negative side to it, but he did bring to my attention the idea of how Black excellence is often used in the mainstream media. So it usually celebrates individuals who have achieved well in what is historically white-dominated sectors, which in and of itself is great, right? But it shouldn't just be limited to that, because you will start to get yourself into a situation where black excellence is now impinged or reliant on white approval, and you don't want to get to that stage. And if I use Kendrick Lamar for example, if Kendrick Lamar gets a clean sweep at the Grammys, that's great. If he gets a flurry of hashtags black excellence, that's great. But if that's not also seen, if he gets a clean sweep in the BET Awards, that's when you start to have a problem. So I think that the term black excellence now needs to almost you need to shine the light on other aspects of black excellence. Anything that's doing to further anything for the black community should be seen as black and excellent. Or else we're now just going to the white individuals and saying, hey, we made it into here, look at us now, we can do it. That's fine, but don't just rely on that. And that's my take on it, really.
A thought came into my head, and I thought of a scenario, and I wanted to see what you guys thought. So would we say the black manager at a black Tesco manager from Southeast London is exuding black excellence, or is a living embodiment of black excellence, compared to a corporate banker at JP Morgan who is fresh out of uni, a black person? I think the reason why I use that example is to show, is there a disparity between what black excellence looks like in the community depending on the industry? So do we think that black excellence has been like kind of catapulted into a certain type of industry, and it's only if you are from that industry that black excellence is kind of associated with you? However, if you're from anything outside of, you ain't seen as excellent, as excellent. So what do you guys think on with that analogy or that illustration?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a very good analogy, and it's a very good point you raised, because a lot of times we have it in our heads that there is one single route that you can take, one single road that will lead you to the destination of black excellence. And fair enough if you think that's true, but I also think that, like, the whole point is that we want to show that black people are not monolithic, that we're not this single thing that we've been, I guess, confined to over time. So having a single one-track idea of black excellence, in my opinion, defeats the whole purpose of us starting to coin things as black excellence. So I do think that is a slight problem. Would I consider someone who is the manager of a Tesco shop black excellence, as well as someone who is, I don't know, who's just got a job in JP Morgan? Yeah, it depends. For me personally, I think you need more factors to be able to determine whether or not that's black excellence. Because as Toby said, if we're looking at black excellence, it's about furthering the black community. So my question is, what are you doing in your respective role to further the black community or to do better for the society around you? That's what I consider black excellence. So for me, some people might say the job I have, yeah, well, black excellence, or the education you have. But for me, that's nothing unless you use it as a stepping stone for others, unless you use it as a stepping stone for your community. So that's what black excellence is to me personally. If someone else thinks JP Morgan is black excellence, then good luck to you on your 3 a.m. shifts. That's
that is good. God is good. Okay, thank you very much for that question. But okay, so let's look at now Black Britain as we know it. So I think under the status quo, Black Britain as we know it is a thriving community. Like, I think in comparison to a lot of communities around the world, we have a unique niche on the international stage because we are very, very innovative. So I just wanted to speak on like a social level. What do you think socially needs to change in the Black community for us to advance ourselves into the future? Let's start with Esther. Let's start with Esther.
For me, I think it's quite hard to say generally, but one thing I would like to see, and one thing I always like to see, is us using each other as a bridge, us using each other to leverage opportunities, us using each other to take one another to places that I guess you couldn't have gone on your own. I think that's the whole point of a community. It's supposed to be a network. It's supposed to be a bridge. You're supposed to bring each other up. You know, you all want to be winning. So I think that's one thing that I would love to see. Not that I don't see it, but that's something I would like to continue seeing. And also, like, it can extend beyond your best friend, and it can extend beyond the person that you went to uni with. Like, there are so many times where you can pay it forward, you can pay the blessings or whatever that you've received forward. And I would just like to see more people, I guess, doing that. Again, not that people didn't do it, but I'd really like to see that as like a foundational thing in the Black community.
Wow, fantastic. Toby, what?
No, like I totally agree with Esther there, and we've got to realize the position that we're in as well. A lot of people are breaking into these amazing industries, which is great. If we look at the majority of our parents were immigrants, right? So their job was to make sure we get into these good institutions, so we know how to articulate, so we know how to do all these derivatives and stuff. But what are we now doing with that knowledge? What are we now doing with that wealth? And I think Esther summed it up greatly there. And it's something that's going to continue and even grow, especially to get more people. Like there were even more people that was it applied to target Oxbridge or stuff like that. These are amazing feats, right? And those 100 and plus people are going to now almost change the future for other people as well. And that goes for the same for other respective universities as well. You really have that opportunity to make change, something that the people before you didn't have. So definitely use that tool.
Fantastic. David, what do you think?
Yeah, I think like Esther was saying, it's one of those things where you can't pinpoint one exact thing. But one thing for me, I would say is belief and teamwork. I think, sometimes it can be hard to believe that, this position that you're going for, whether it's Tesco, whether it's JP Morgan, that you're going to get, because of, for example, lack of representation. But I'll use the example for myself. This social enterprise that I'm part of right now, it was actually Toby that introduced me to it. So about 3 years ago now, Toby told me that about something that was going on in Ghana, and he introduced me to the team leader. And 3 years on, I'm now the team leader of the project. And it's those kind of things that help advance our community, because he had something that he was doing. He saw someone that was interested, and he thought, why not? Let's go. And those, like Esther was alluding to as well, those are the kind of things that push us forward.
Fantastic. And I think even actually on the matter of like the organizations that you are actually a part of, I think it'll be wrong for us not to talk about international influence and like what can we do in Britain to impact the world globally and like bring things to the international stage. So what do you advise the young Black person that's watching this or under the status quo to do to get more involved in their community outside of the UK? Let's start with David, actually, since you touched on it.
Yeah, so my social enterprise is an international organization in Ghana that tackles period poverty. So what we do is we create jobs for women to be able to create and sell the pads to charities, schools, NGOs, etc. So essentially making them business leaders in their community, because at the end of the day, as a social enterprise, we're not throwing money at them and then them going to do whatever they're going to do with the project. At the end of the day, we want to take a step back and let it be a self-sufficient business. So to answer your question in terms of what we can do here to help, I think one, educate yourself. Like, period poverty is something that in Ghana, even though I actually lived in Ghana for a while, it's definitely not talked about as much as it should be. And when we speak more and learn more about these issues, that's when people start to listen. So the first thing I'll say is educate yourself. And with obviously my social enterprise specifically, a lot of the support that we can get is from you sharing our stuff. So obviously, I'm sure the ACS will share our socials after. But when you see that we make a post, just share it to your friends, share it to your parents. Like, you don't know who is going to see what we do and who is going to be able to help or be able to help us on the ground. And so I think that's very important. I think people kind of downplay the importance of social media. I think Toby mentioned it earlier. Like, you're just behind your screen and you're just retweeting or whatever. You don't know where that could go. And I think to be able to support what everyone is doing, you should be able to just lend that retweet to them. And like I said, educate yourself on what we're doing. So if there's anything that you think that would be helpful to our project, you can tell us, and then we can be able to make effect on the ground.
Fantastic. Esther, what about you? Your one's very interesting. Fashion.
Yeah, fashion. Who would have thought? Yeah, I would say the first thing, I completely agree with what David has said, firstly. And I think the first thing is to check your mindset. because a lot of times, I don't know if, let me not even throw shots, but I think first of all, we need to check our mindset, because a lot of times we go into back home or go to the continent or to the islands, and you think that you're going to save the day, or you think that you're going to go there and you're going to drastically just, improve somebody's life, which, you might have the grace to do that, which is great, but not everyone will. And you shouldn't go in with that savior complex or that savior mindset, because I think by default, when you do that, you're taking away the autonomy from the people on the ground, and you're taking away the autonomy from the people that are actually living in these countries that you plan on, quote unquote, saving. So I think check your mindset, firstly. Secondly, educate yourself. So what are you actually going to do there? So I remember when I told my dad I wanted to start a business in Nigeria, and he said, okay, that's great. Where in Nigeria? Who do you know in Nigeria? Who's your contact? Who's your network? I was like, I thought it was so simple. I was just going to go and do it. But it's really not that. You need to educate yourself in the same way you'd educate yourself if you wanted to start a business in France or in Switzerland or whatever. Educate yourself about the ecosystem that is there. And lastly, I would say, especially if you're doing it to see, the country win, or because you see that the country is winning already and you want to be part of the movement and everything, make sure you go in there with a genuine heart and genuine intentions. That is my personal opinion. Not everyone would think so, but I definitely think so. Even if it's business that you want to start, just because that is your country or the motherland or whatever, and you want to nurture it and you want to see it grow. You're not here or going there to exploit and take away from it. If you are, then just cancel your flight, stay where you are. But I'd hope that, people are going there to nurture the countries and be part of the growth that is happening, regardless whether we would be there or not.
I love that. Toby, what about you?
No, I think Esther hit the nail on the head there in terms of don't come there with that savior complex. Educate yourself. You really have to do those things. I remember when I went to Ghana in second year, it was definitely the best experience of my life. These people were just genuinely happy, and I thought I was going to go there and give them so much, but they gave me so much themselves. The social enterprise that I was working on with what David, it's definitely very challenging, because as Esther alluded to, the ecosystem is completely different. There were times in which we were working with specific governors, and the times were delayed by 2-3 hours, and you're thinking, well, but if we were a construction company and we wanted to get something done here, do you think they had the time to wait in 2-3 hours? So there's a lot of trust that needs to go on with a lot of these international projects, because you're not there physically. So it's not a case where the people at home watching this have to go and set up their own social enterprise that happens abroad. You can definitely be supporting the ones that are there, because they do need your support. But then again, there's also the educating yourself aspect as well. It's great that if you go back to the NSARS protest, it's been brought to the limelight. But were you actually hearing the stories beforehand, before it was brought to the limelight? So I think it's always integral for us to actually stay in touch with what's going on, especially back home. So yeah, I think that's what I implore a lot of the people to do.
Okay, fantastic. Well, our time, we've got 4 minutes left until the break. So I'm gonna ask one more question. And I think this question, to end on a good note, and I think to instill hope within the community, what do you think the future of the future of Black Britain holds for us in the community? Let's start with Esther.
The future of Black Britain. Well, I hope it's a future that sees our cultural influence really take center stage, because there is a lot of that. And I think being Black British in itself is a thing separate from your, your other cultures, like being Ghanaian, being Jamaican, whatever. So I really hope it sees, the formation and the solidification of that culture in and of itself, and that taking the forefront. I hope there's a lot of unity, just because unity is always nice, and, hopefully we'll see the community grow. And I also hope that we can appreciate one another for our differences, even within this community. I think that is a big thing that I'm hoping for. And I think we're on track.
I love that. We love to see it. Toby, what about you? What do you think the future of Black Britain holds?
Wow. it's an interesting one because at the end of the day, I don't know. So all I can be is very optimistic, right? And we have to be very optimistic. I want a lot of the environments that a lot of Black people find themselves in to change. Now, when I look back at the secondary school that I was in, it's only through hindsight that I can actually see it was the environment that really did impede on the growth that a lot of these Black people are able to have. So I'd like to see the environments that a lot of these Black people change, or the institutional racism that people face at different social levels. You definitely want that to not really almost stop people from just achieving that Black excellence that we alluded to earlier, right? You don't want the color of your skin to almost hold you back. So you want the people after us to not have it easier, but not let Black be a factor that stops them from really growing. So it'll be interesting. Honestly, I don't know, but I just hope it's positive. I just hope it's positive, and you see young Black people flourishing as we are. You don't want to take that away, but we want to see more of it.
Lovely. We love that. We do love that. David, what about you? What do you think the future of Black Britain holds?
Yeah, so obviously, like Toby said, it's hard to kind of pinpoint where exactly it's going to be. But I think I'm just going to read or try and remember a quote from, I believe it's Steve Biko. He's an anti-apartheid leader, or was in South Africa. And he said, being Black is not a matter of pigmentation, but it's a reflection of mental attitude. And I think that's something that we've shown right now in abundance. We have a lot of mental fortitude, and I would love to see that, continue going from strength to strength. And like Esther was saying as well, unity, I think is so important. Like people always say, there's strength in numbers, and the more that, we work together to create a better environment for ourselves, the more that's going to be our reality. So yeah, I hope that that's the case in the future.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what everybody has said within this past hour. So sadly, Esther had to go, but we thank her regardless anyway for her amazing contributions to this conversation. We want to thank Toby. We want to thank David for joining us for the first half of the IdentityX conference. So we're going to sort out a few technicalities during the break, but please join us again 4:15, where we're going to kickstart again with a new lineup of panelists engaging with some sociological questions and also asking some questions as well. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. Any last remarks? I mean, this is your 15-minute of fame, so maybe you wanna give something. But thank you so much. And yeah, we'll go on break now.
Just another sunny day in Southern California. It's where the people came to play. Don't let them transform you. Come and see what you've been missing on a little slice of heaven. It's the only place we're living. Just another sunny day in Southern California. It's where the people came to play. Don't let them transform you. Come and see what you've been missing on a little slice of heaven. It's the only place we're living. It's that West Coast point of view. Easy when it's always summertime fun. You and I get free attitude. Who cares what the people think? It's been turning kinda gray in Southern California, but I'm allergic to the rain. What happened to euphoria? Don't worry about it, don't worry about a damn thing. I'm too excited, dark liquor with the palm trees. It's all or nothing, ooh, it's all or nothing. Ignore the signs and socialize. Come and see what you've
Fantastic. Thank you. Welcome back to the conference. Thank you very much for waiting patiently. Sorry we're delayed. Sorry we didn't get back to you as soon as we're just sorting out a few things, but don't worry, God is good. Everything is fine. So, just to reiterate, the theme for this year's conference is IdentityX, exploring and understanding Black Britain as we know it. And as you can see, we're joined, as you're going to see, sorry, we're joined by two different set of speakers, fantastic speakers in their field as well, just phenomenal individuals. So just to give you a bit of background on what this conference is about. So the vision for the NAAC is simple, to create and show Black students that their backgrounds is a strength to be celebrated and leveraged upon, as opposed to be viewed as a weakness to be diluted or even worse, dismissed. It's more than a conference. It's an interactive community celebrating and empowering each other to bring out the very best and excellent that lies within every single Black student at the University of Nottingham and beyond into the Black community. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our speakers, our panelists for this section of the conference. So, our first panelist is Janelle. Janelle currently was actually a Nottingham alumni. She did religion. I think let me get this right. Religion. I think it was religion, theology, and ethics. I think she did that, but anyway. So she did that at the University of Nottingham. She was actually a part of NSTV's production crew as well. She was anchor at times, and she did phenomenal work at the university. And now actually works for the BBC now, which is fantastic, which is incredible. So that's our first speaker. And our second speaker is Tony. Tony was a former ACS president. He graduated with a first from Cambridge University, and he did, I think, HSPS, if I'm not mistaken. And now Tony is he works with a number of social enterprises around the world, aiding social mobility around the world, aiding, bringing issues that people don't really like to talk about with regards to Africa, with regards to young people, to the forefront, to the international stage. So hi guys, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are good. Look at them, melanin is just fine. We love to see it. We love to see it. Now, without further ado, just introduce yourself. So I kind of done the intro for you anyway, but if you'd like to tell everyone what university you went to and what degree you did. Let's start with Janelle.
So my name is Janelle Awomoyi, and I went to the University of Nottingham. I'm really happy with the stuff that you guys are putting on. And I did religion, philosophy, and ethics.
That's it, because I do
philosophy. Yeah. So that was great. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Do you want to know anything else, or should I?
No, I got you. We got you. Tony, what university did you go to, and what degree did you do?
So, I'm Tony Folalade. Is a long way of saying I specialized in politics and international relations and minored in economics.
Fantastic. Okay, so cool. Tony, repeat that again.
Yeah, for sure. I said that I went to the University of Cambridge, St. John's College to be specific, and I studied human, social, and political sciences, which is a complex way of saying I studied politics and international relations with a minor in economics.
Oh, fantastic. So cool. So you guys are graduates now. So how has life been as a graduate? Like, how has life been being in the world of work? Like, let's get the tea. Janelle, how's it been for you?
I mean, this has probably been the hardest year, probably since like 2008, to graduate. So we didn't get a graduation, kicked out of uni. What's funny is Ben that's doing the live now, we did a live in March, International Women's Day, and then that evening we're being told you need to go home, basically. And it was kind of like, thank God we were able to put on this event, but really and truly, that's it. That's your university. And I remember in Notts, like, you just think you're gonna have like the maddest last couple months, and that didn't happen. So the last couple months were in my room, locked down, finishing my degree. And I didn't know what I was going to do with myself, because I got offered a placement in Thailand for the UN, which obviously wasn't going to happen anymore. So I was literally like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And obviously when you're at home especially from like an African background. I'm African Caribbean, so I'm half Nigerian, half Guyanese. My parents are on my back, like, what are you doing here? You better be doing something. Like, and it's been like, how am I meant to know what I'm meant to be doing with a global pandemic? So yeah, it's been difficult. That's what I can say. But patience and dedication. Yeah.
Dedication. We love to see it. We honestly love to see it. Tony, how's it been for you?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's similar. I thought I was the only one that had a kind of weird or funny story about how lockdown happened. So as David mentioned, I'm involved in a number of ventures from like a profit-making side, but also run some non-profit social enterprises. But I guess I'm privileged that my main hustle is I'm the CEO of an early-stage fintech company, which helps empower small businesses in Africa. So I'm working for myself from day one out of university with a great co-founding team. The weird thing is that on the day that we got kicked out of university, it was the Friday before lockdown started on Monday, and I was going to go to be in London on the Sunday to do a big pitch for a company, to an investment firm, which ended up investing in our company. So I was going to be in London for the weekend anyway, so I just packed like one duffel bag, headed down to London for the weekend. I was like, oh, okay, it's cool. Like, I'll probably just be in London for the weekend. The first case of coronavirus in my accommodation has happened. They'll like take those people to hospital, and then I'll be back on Monday, and like uni will be all good and well. I do the pitch on the Sunday, go to bed, wake up now. It's Monday. I'm getting emails saying you're not coming back. We didn't find out what our exam format was going to be until like May. So we were revising for exams, not knowing when they were or what the exam format was. And I was obviously running this company all the way through. And I was actually in an accelerator program, which means a really intensive 2-month program where you work with an investor before they give you the money for your business. So you can imagine I'm doing my final exams at Cambridge University, living alone, mashing work for the business 9 to 5 and trying to study in between. And as Janelle said, we had no graduation ceremony and business never stops. So it was literally just like yesterday, my mom was like, oh, I just realized like you graduated because you haven't you didn't go back to uni. It's like, yeah, bro, it's the same. Like it's been 8 continuous months of just study and work. And then now the study bit's done, but the work keeps going. So yeah, it's been super weird to graduate in this time, but I'm grateful that I have the opportunities to do what I love and to just try and grow it into things that can create opportunities for other people too.
Oh, that is amazing. That is absolutely fantastic. So just looking along the lines of what you guys do for your jobs, I think let's start with Tony. So with regards to the number of non-profits that you work with or you're working under now, would you like to enlighten us on at least one social enterprise that you're working on at the moment? One social enterprise that you're working at the moment with regards to the whole Black community.
Yeah, so for sure. I mean, as I said, on the day-to-day, I run my company, which is for profit, but I guess the social element is that we work on the ground with businesses in Africa to help them enter the financial system, so be able to set up bank accounts, make payments, understand their business better. And then, of course, I also am a founding member of Do Good Africa, which is a Google grant-backed non-profit charity that empowers communities across Africa. So we work with grassroots organizations to do anything from building schools to providing electricity to thousands of people, to providing boats to fishermen. We do everything. So we have like about 45 projects that we work on at any given time. And then there's a variety of other projects. There's political organizations that I'm involved with in Britain too. So there's always something to be done. Fantastic.
Janelle, so I noticed that you did a cheeky thing with the UN. Would you like to expand on your work with the UN? What did that entail?
Well, I've had a lot of work with the UN, so I think I started working kind of with them through my involvement in the National Council of Women. So my history is I kind of got into activism at a very young age. So I've kind of been working towards like fighting discrimination with gender rights issues. So I joined the National Council of Women, which I noticed was quite underrepresentative. Like it was literally a lot of women from like the suffrage that group came from like the suffrage movement and didn't have much diversity in it. And a feminism that I kind of believe in has intersectionality, and of course the things that Black women go through is never really spoke about properly in these sort of groups. So it was something that was really dear to me, and I was selected to go to the UN and kind of talk about sorry about that. Yeah, to go to the UN, and I created a report about women's social protection systems around the world and what we can do in the UK to ensure that we have better social protection systems for women around the world as well. So now the capacity that I work with the UN is more on sort of like a UK ambassador role, and I did moderate an event for them about 2 months ago, and continuing working with them to ensure that young people in the UK understand that their voice is important. Of course, we're seeing it around the world. Young people are finally waking up and realizing that we can actually take charge of our lives, and we can take charge of a lot more than what we're told. And obviously, traditionally, we're told that, you know, you're young, sit down. Especially within our community, respect your elders. That's one of the first things you've got to hear. But who respects us as well? Surely we deserve a little bit of respect. Like listening to people like Tony speak, like the stuff that you're able to do at your age, older people will tell you that you can't do that. You're too young. That's not true. And I think that obviously last year was when I first went to the UN, and I was 20, which was one of the youngest people there. They did not most of the delegates there are, you know, middle-aged, as usual, as you'd expect. So yeah, that's kind of the beginning of my work with the UN, and I'm continuing to work with the UK mission to the UN at the moment to kind of give young people in the UK a bigger voice. So, yeah.
I love it. We actually love to see it. And I think you said something that's so important, and I think we should capitalize on this whole idea that we as young people are doing extraordinarily well under the status quo. Like, I'm looking at young people just a few years older than me, and I'm like, yo, like they're doing things that our parents haven't done in their lifetime, or our parents aspire to do in their lifetime. And I think this is actually ties in nicely what I wanted us to talk about actually, with the whole NSARS movement, and in fact actually the whole crisis that's occurring in Africa at the moment, in so many countries in Africa, but in particular Nigeria. I think in light of yesterday's events, I think it would be wrong for us not to speak on it. So like I did prior to, do you have any thoughts on how the whole NSARS movement, and I think in light of yesterday's events, has that changed your perspective at all when looking at the NSARS movement, or has it re-endorsed any opinions you had prior to, you know, the whole movement kicking off the way it has? Let's start with Tony.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was saying earlier that I've been deeply moved. I don't think I've ever felt what I'm feeling currently. If I'm honest, it's difficult for me to even be on this platform now. But I think it's incredibly important to do so. I think the truth is a lot of people feel incredibly powerless right now, especially in the diaspora. But you know, the issues that people are protesting about are issues that have been ongoing for generations. And it's a really interesting and critical moment in our history and in global history. And I think for us, really, you know, I'm most interested in following on the points that we've made about young people doing incredible things, young people's organization thus far, their ability to work collectively and be a unit, and really be unified around a cause. I think for us, you know, in the present moment, as much as things look bleak and there's not much that can be done to create the change that we want to see, I think it's about us sitting down and strategizing about, you know, what each of our respective roles are going to be moving forward, especially in terms of, you know, contributing to the nations that we originate from. People were running jokes in the previous panel kind of about, you know, us building all of this talent and working so hard and then just going to work at JP Morgan until 3 a.m. I think I've always been incredibly passionate about using whatever skills and gifts God has given me to contribute, and this moment just confirms to me that that's what I'll live and live for, if that makes sense.
Janelle, any thoughts? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I've been really moved, and part of my work, I'll talk about this a little bit later about how important purpose is, but you know, ever since I was probably like 13, it's been so important to me to make a difference in Africa. So even though I've been working here for like 2 months, I've already tried to like see how I can start making a change in terms of how we can tell stories that are in Africa. And it moved me. I literally tell my colleagues all the time, like, have you seen how they are protesting? This is like futuristic stuff. They're cleaning the streets. They have fed their protesters really well, you know. They are celebrating, singing peacefully. Like, we don't see that in the Western world. We don't see that anywhere. That type of protesting it's revolutionary protesting. So when I did see what was going on yesterday, I watched that live. I was deeply, deeply saddened, but I wasn't very surprised. It was only a matter of time. Because we know how it is. And as a woman that is from the diaspora, I know that I can't even travel there on my own. How safe am I going to be? You know, and it's something that makes me upset all the time, because I'm like, well, I'm old enough to do it, but I can't, because it's just not safe, and it's not even safe for, you know, Nigerians in Nigeria to be living there.
To live there, yeah.
Exactly. And like, for me, it's horrible right now. It's horrible. But we've got to keep talking. We've got to keep this conversation happening. We've got to keep mobilizing, planning, and we've just got to fight the fight in whatever way we can. And I know what Tony said, like, he feels powerless, but you have so much power. You have so much power. And of course, like, yeah, we've got so much power. We just need to know how we can best use it. And I think everybody that's like anywhere around the world should understand that they've got power to fight this.
And I think what's so important about what you've said just there is the power that we have, emphasizing the power that we have in the UK. Like, we're not in Nigeria. Like, and you know, it's a grace that we don't deserve. Like, I'm not in Nigeria at the moment. We're not in Nigeria. We're in the UK. But our social media presence, our social media influence on the world stage is so monumental if we all unite together. And I think that's so important, understanding the power that we have under the status quo. Like, I've never seen such a level of accountability being brought to the international stage, like, you know, with regards to contacting the UN, with regards to contacting the UK government, with other countries around the world, contacting their governments to lobby like the Nigerian government to change, and other governments that are moving in the same fashion that the Nigerian government has been moving. And I think it's just really, really, really important, as we have this platform, to continue using it. And voice our opinions, voice our frustrations and hurt, and to show the people back in Nigeria that you're not exempt and that you aren't alone. I think,
you know, also, if we even think about it, like, we're privileged to be here, right? Now, if we're privileged to be here, then obviously, like, we've taken things from Africa. That's the hardest part. And even when you see the pictures from Congo, you can look and see it. You know, most of us have iPhones, like Apple products, I don't know, anything, you know, computers. We're part of the problem as well. So we can't just, you know, turn away and forget about it.
Yeah.
And I have spoken to a lot of people on the ground, because this story, I mean, this is not just a story. What's happening right now is really, really important. And they're talking about how people from the diaspora, they celebrate Nigerian independence, but they're not putting the hashtag #EndSARS. What's that all about?
What is that all about? Like, it's scary, because what I've noticed in the Western world is it's exploited for personal gain, for selfish gain. And I've noticed that under the status quo that we don't have that level of empathy anymore. Whereby we're saying, okay, yeah, happy Nigerian Independence Day, yeah, we're doing the shackles, yeah, we're doing, I'm eating jollof rice, I'm having all these lovely things from the country, from the continent, but yet we're lacking the accountability, the common decency to join the plight, to join the human rights activism that's going on at the moment. But anyway, I could spend a lifetime on this topic. Trust me. If you followed me on Instagram yesterday, I was fuming. But anyway, we move on. We move on. Just to let everybody know that's watching, if you have any questions or if you have anything you would like us to talk about, please comment it in our chat or in the comment section. Comment your questions. We want to hear them. We've got valuable people here who are here to offer their gems at the end of the day. So let's manipulate it. Let's use it. So cool. So next question. Bringing this back to the UK, however, the community, the Black community, I think is a very unique community in Britain that sets us quite apart from other Black communities around the world. And I think that's because we have a very fantastic niche based on, or founded on innovation, really. But I've noticed under the status quo that we have adopted this principle of Black excellence, or this idea of Black excellence has been thrown around in the community quite a lot. So much so that I actually heard someone say that Black excellence should be the watchword for the community. But then a lot of people have said that this is a very, very pervasive rhetoric for the community to hold. So I just wanted to get your opinions on it. What do you believe Black excellence is? And how beneficial do you believe it to be for the Black community in Britain? Let's start with Tony.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't think you can really define it, right? And what I speak to, I guess, is I'm privileged that the university put out an article today about the work. Cambridge University put out an article today about the work I'm doing, which I haven't shared just because I don't think it's the right moment. But the thing I said at the end is this quote from Toni Morrison, where she talks about the very serious function of racism distracting you from the work that you do, because it causes you to explain yourself over and over and why you exist. And so the conclusion of the article was just me talking about, a lot of the article was talking about race and how it affected my time at university and the work I do. But I'm striving for a world where my race is not relevant, where it doesn't affect what I'm trying to do, and the work can speak for itself. And so, yeah, it's tough. I think the Black excellence word is because of the barriers that are in front of us, and therefore we should celebrate success when we see it. And that's why it's a word that I use from time to time, but it's not the world that I want to imagine. For example, seeing the access numbers in university have more than doubled, almost tripled in my time at university, and it was very strange walking around uni and seeing other people who look like you. And for some people, I think it was tough for them because they weren't the special few Black people in this university anymore. But it's that's exactly the point. That's what we did all of this work for. We did all of this work so that it wasn't a surprise to see other people who look like you. So yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's a complex one. I think Black excellence should be celebrated, but I think it has its boundaries, and we have to be mindful about it.
Janelle, what are your thoughts on this whole idea of Black excellence?
What's interesting is a couple of weeks ago, we actually posted an article on my magazine. So I run a magazine, an online digital magazine, for talking about issues through a Black lens. And we spoke about this very topic, Black excellence. And Kene, who wrote the article, he does it very well. He basically explains that we hold ourselves to a standard that other people don't hold themselves to. So we celebrate people who, are able to demonstrate their skills, who are able to master and demonstrate their skills, and they're the only people that get celebrated. And if you don't get to that standard, that incredible standard, then you're not celebrated in the same way. And obviously I'm in the media industry now, and to me, you see it in the media all the time. You never see, the normal story of a Black person just living their life, walking around, just engaging with people in a normal way. But when you do, it's a story about the Black man that founded something in America. You know what I mean? Like, we're not like, we're normal people. We're really normal people with normal lives and normal problems, and I don't think that gets told enough. Like, when we never see that enough, and that was the point of the magazine in the first place, to just portray stories from a Black lens. We're talking about normal things like fashion. We're talking about things that our perspective is never shown, and we're not talking about being number one top model, or we're just talking about what we like to wear on the weekend. And when you look at magazines like Refinery and Elle magazine, that's what you see, but you just don't see any of us being portrayed there as normal people. We only see it when we're like the best of the best, and that's not fair. We are human beings. Like, we don't have to prove ourselves to exist. And I think that's something that, when I look at Black excellence, I don't necessarily think you need to be, working at BBC. I could easily work at, for myself, or I could work for a smaller company and to be as good as I am now. That I don't think that we need to look at institutions or if somebody, or like awards, to believe that we are good. Because that's on a different scale.
Yeah.
David, can I jump on the back of that really quick?
Yeah, jump.
Yeah, like, just to use my own personal life, for example, right? I put on Instagram the other day that, like, I think Black mediocrity should be the goal. And I'm someone who strives for excellence in what I do, but to explain that quickly, in all humility, what I'm doing is incredibly rare, right? In the sense that to run a startup that has raised money, 0.5% of Black entrepreneurs in Europe can access investment. So to be able to raise investment for your startup already makes you an outlier. And then to do it at 21, where only less than 3% of startup founders are 21 to 25, makes that doubly rare. To be a Black founder under 25 and raise the amount that we did is rare. But what was super interesting that happened last week is there's a Nigerian fintech company called Paystack, and it got sold. And it was the biggest sale ever of a Nigerian startup. And what happened was that the next day, I got a call from one of the most famous investors in Europe asking us if they could invest in us. Keep in mind, they never met us before. They heard of us through a referral. But what that did show was that someone else's success reflected on me. Someone else sold a company in our space, and people were like, okay, there's a huge opportunity in Nigerian businesses and fintech. Like, is there any more? Can we get in on the action? And what was crazy is, like, all of that talent was already there. Like, it just showed that someone needed to break through and be the example. And whilst I hate that it has to be like that, that's the only reason I stand by the Black excellence idea. But what it means is that for me, who's a young person who's going to make mistakes, who's building my first company, it gives me the room now to be mediocre, because that success is normalized. And I can access startup funding in the same way that a white middle class person with those networks and relationships does, and finds it way easier to raise money. So Black mediocrity, as Janelle said, is absolutely the goal. But I think it's just that the realist in me realizes that to break down those barriers, sometimes early success is needed.
Sometimes. But there's a girl on Instagram, right? And she's the girl that eats the cake. She's not cake, chips. She sits in her bed, and makes jokes. She don't do her hair. She don't wear makeup. She chilled as F, and she just makes whatever. She just eats chips, and everybody resonates with her. She makes us feel happy. She keeps us entertained, right? She's not doing anything really that special, really. But whatever it is, her piece of magic, like just her naturalness, she has a vibe to her that you just want to laugh, right? And I think that is something where you think, and her success, I think, wow, amazing. She didn't do anything crazy. She didn't really work that hard. I don't know. Maybe when it started to gain traction, she started, okay, maybe I should make more. But she works with Fenty now, and I think she's so true to her brand. And one thing I love about her is you can tell she loves herself for who she is. And for me, that's the most important thing you can do. When you talk about like Black excellence, that is what's in my brain. She's herself. She's authentic. She doesn't even She's just doing her own thing. She's successful. I'm sure she's, you know, making some money as well, which is
I
always
think
plus.
what's so beautiful about what you guys have said, sorry, it's just this reader. I honestly think you guys have genuinely provided a redefinition of Black excellence. Because I think prior to, I think the reason why a lot of people had seen it as a pervasive rhetoric is because of the fact that it holds Black people to a standard, to an unrealistic standard in most cases, whereby Black people are supposed to be seen as, yeah, we should be doing this, we should be doing that, forgetting, number one, the structural disadvantages we're up against, number two, the social disadvantages we're up against, even the socio-economical disadvantages that we're up against, and we're forced to adopt a certain image. For us to look a certain way, act a certain way. But as Janelle just rightly said, being true to yourself, being true to who you are. I say this so lightly. Forget being Black for a second. Being just yourself is I think the very definition of Black excellence. Being the very thing, being the best version of who you can be each day. And I think when we look at Janelle, when we look at Tony, and we look at the speakers that we've had, it's not so to speak that all the speakers that we've invited today, speaking to the membership anyway, all the speakers today are like incredible. Like, oh my days, they're doing things that we have never seen before. It's that they are doing things that they love to do, and you can see the genuine passion for it. And that is the redefinition of Black excellence. But anyway, moving on swiftly. So looking at the community now. Now, we were engaging with a question in our society. We've been doing an enlightenment project over the last few weeks. And we were engaged with a specific question, and I wanted to get your views on it. We might run over slightly, but anyway, I'm loving this discussion. So the question was, should we in the Black community be looking for political power or social influence? And what birthed that question was somebody was saying that there's a lack of Black people in politics today in the UK, and that we ain't seeing politicians, we ain't seeing Black politicians, but we do see so much social influencers. We see so many Insta babes, we see so many Twitter babes, we see so many of them, and but we don't see the political influence. So it brought about that question. But what do you guys think? First of all, looking at what do you think is the focus of that question, but also generally, what do you think of the question? So let's start with Tony. Tony, what do you think?
It's a tough one, man. I'm not trying to get cancelled. No, look, I think people occupying the spaces they can occupy naturally, right? We tend to have a culture that is, people love the culture, they love our vibes. Like, if you look at the stats in terms of Black music and what people listen to, like 60% of the world's music is Black, and we don't get paid much for it. So I'm going to flip the question in terms of, like, as you said, we have Insta influencers, we have like people with Twitter clout, etc. But like, we don't have ownership of those platforms. Like, so many people's brands and livelihoods depend on platforms that likely aren't going anywhere. But if they did, like, they wouldn't be able to make a living off of. On the same flip, though, I don't think we necessarily need to be talking about, you know, having lots of Black people in politics. It's important, but just because they're Black and in politics doesn't necessarily mean that their politics aligns to what would tend to uplift the kind of people that look like us. And I'm not one for like identity politics where we say, like, because they're Black, I'm going to vote for them or anything like that. But the truth is that most Black people, as you said, there are structural and socio-economic factors that hold them back. And therefore, lots of things that would increase social like economic mobility and more education and employment would uplift the community. So for me, like, I always put economic empowerment as something that's incredibly important. And if the Black community had finance, then it wouldn't matter which elected officials we'd have, because if we were able to lobby the same way other communities could lobby, whoever was in office would be accountable. So I think for us, it's using every lever we have. It's great that Black people have social influence and cultural influence, and we should continue to grow in that domain. It would also be great for us to own that culture. It would be great for us to have more politicians that look like us and are aligned to us. And it would be great for us to have more economic influence. I don't think it's an either or question. I think it's just about priority.
I like that a lot. Janelle, what do you think?
First and foremost, I feel like this is such a Notts question. Of course, Notts people be like, why is there so many Insta babes? Like, everyone in Notts is like, there's so many entrepreneurs in Notts. Especially like when it comes to female entrepreneurs that are into nails and makeup, and you think there's a lot of female entrepreneurs into nails and makeup and food. You can get a lot of food in Notts. But anyway,
We are enjoying the food.
Listen, I didn't get to finish it. So,
Okay.
anyways, when it comes to this sort of conversation, the conversation about politics, when I first saw this question, I did think where. Obviously, like where in the UK, there's not very many. Okay, to me, I think that politics is the foundation, and then you can look at the economics. Because if the politics doesn't, if the policies are not talking about, are not in our favor, then how can we get the money? How can we be mobilized to be financially independent and be financially free? So I think politics is extremely important, and I agree with what Tony said about just having Black people present does not necessarily mean they have the best interest for the community. So it's very, very tricky. And I was a youth MP when I was younger, so I've had a lot of work in Parliament, in the civil service. I did an internship there, and if you kind of understand the framework of how it works, having MPs won't necessarily help with the cause. I think that there's other ways that you can try to influence policy than having an MP there. A lot of the MPs that we have right now, without throwing shade, I don't think
we ain't gonna do that.
It's a topical issue.
But I think so an interesting point then. So do you believe that we've kind of downplayed the importance of social influence then? Or we're kind of pitting two ideas against each other when there shouldn't really be a contest for either or, but actually a hybrid of the two. And the reason why I say that is because when I do look at social influencers nowadays, I don't necessarily think they are not active or not doing their thing or not influencing policy. In so to speak as when it comes to political figures anyway, using the same pattern. Janelle, you're doing.
I mean, if you listen to Malcolm X, he says that celebrities were put there by the white system. Why are you listening to celebrities anyway? You need to listen. I think we really need to have a look at who we take in, who we listen to. I think listening is a very, very important thing, and we don't do it enough, and we do it to the wrong people. Now, you should look at people, look at politicians from the civil rights era and listen to what the people that really created that movement so that we have the freedoms that we have today, and listen to what they are saying. Because it's often what they were saying that got shut down straight after, that if we carried on, we'd be in a way better place now. But now we just listen to rappers. I'm not saying that rappers don't have, British rappers. Anyways, I'm not going to go into that. But rappers right now, like, come on. I mean, they're going to carry the message, but they're not the people that should light the torch. You know, we shouldn't be looking at Burna Boy and being like, oh my God, Burna Boy is so annoying. Burna Boy is not Fela Kuti. He's never Fela Kuti. He just inspired. So Fela Kuti was a different type. Look at Fela Kuti's mother. Right? If you find out her story, then you can understand what type of house he was brought up in. This is not the same as Burna Boy that grew up on it. So we should stop thinking, oh gosh, he's so annoying. He's not supporting. He's just a rapper, mate. He wants to wear bling and gold in his teeth.
And live good.
Exactly.
That's money.
Look, there are people whose life will be dedicated to the cause, real revolutionaries, and we need to watch out for them and listen when they come. If they're already here, we need to listen.
But I don't know. It's tough because I think it becomes a question of what do we actually want. And again, this is me putting out cancelable comments, but it's like it's very easy to be entertained. And that's why we listen to rappers, and that's why we do drippy and all of these things, right? Like, it's easy to be entertained. Like, the revolutionary stuff you're talking about is difficult, and as you said, people died for that cause. And it's about us as a community saying, how much do we really want the things that we say we want? How much we understand that there is oppression and systematic and systemic disadvantage, but people, because we understand that people are not going to end that for fun or easily. They're not just going to say, okay, cool, we're going to let you just live anyhow. And if that's the truth, that means that progress requires sacrifice, and it requires listening to the leadership and ideas that Janelle spoke of. And it's for us to decide what we want, if we want to chop life or if we want progress. and it's a
that's,
very difficult decision to make for many.
I mean,
Anyway. Not for me.
I mean, yeah, progress does require sacrifice, and we saw that yesterday. We saw that, and I spoke to a lovely girl who was at the protest, was at Lekki Tollgate every single day, but she didn't go yesterday because of the curfew. And look what happened. And effectively, it's horrible, but progress is happening right now because of that sacrifice. And it is what you said. People need to make that decision, whether they're for the cause or against the cause. And I'm not telling people to just go and stand and, get killed. I'm honestly just saying that if you want something really bad, you need to figure out what our purpose is, what causes you are willing to live for, what causes you're willing to die for. If you were a martyr, would you be happy to be a martyr? I'm not saying you should try and kill yourself. I'm really not trying to say that, please. I'm not trying to say that at all. All I'm saying is you really need to understand your purpose. And if you see what's happening in Nigeria, for example, and you think, I want to go home to a safe, peaceful place, well, there's going to be a cost. There's going to be a cost to that.
I think what's interesting about what you said is, so our panelists before talked about the intention behind where's the root? Where is the root of what you're being active about, what you're speaking on? And I think to kind of like sum up what you guys are saying, it starts from the root. Where is your fire coming from? What is pushing you to the forefront? Is it just for the fame? Because if it's just for the fame, you're gonna be burnt out. But if it's for if it's for a cause that you're willing to die for, I think that's kind of what you were talking about, Janelle. That the willingness to die the willingness to die for a cause that you believe in so much. I think that's the authenticity that we're looking for under this table.
And that's what you're seeing in Nigeria today.
Exactly.
You're seeing that.
A drive and a desire to say, even if I die, I don't think they factor in the fact that they are going to die. Even if I die, I will still do it. And I think that's what's so inspiring. And when we relate it back to the question on this whole idea of political power and social influence, I don't think that's the question we should be having when it comes to influencing. When it comes to influencing the status quo, it's about like what's driving us. What are we doing? You understand? What are we doing? Who are we holding accountable? Yes, social influence is fantastic. It drives the message forward. It brings something to the international stage. Political change is fantastic because it sets a precedent for times to continue. But something needs to give. Something needs to give. And I think within the Black community in the UK, we definitely need to see more people who are willing to stand up for what they believe in. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that is mutually exclusive to the Black community. It can be something that engages with an entire status quo as well. A question in the comments says, what's a more effective way than having MPs to affect policy?
There's a lot of levers, right? So, like, one thing that people don't understand is how much think tanks and like lobby groups have impact. They shape the thinking. They shape a narrative. Janelle's in the media. Again, what the media decides to highlight or not highlight has a huge effect. They control the narrative, and what is told is believed. As I said, like, I'm always going to speak about the role of economic influence, and those control the interest behind both what research comes out and culture. So I think, again, I see these things as like they're all levers and aspects of society, and they're all interdependent. I don't see any one really being more important than the other. For example, a politician cannot run without campaign finance, but a politician can also not run without media exposure. And all of these things are connected. So I don't think it's about what's more effective than, MPs. I think it's, if we had no Black MPs in Parliament, that doesn't really make sense, does it? But it's also just about thinking about what are all the spaces that we can occupy to have influence for our community. And I think it's more about less so about what's more important and more so about what space are you best suited to be in, and building alliances with people in other spaces to make progress. It's not about, whose space is more important, or, even if another space is more important, if you're not built for it, it's a waste of time for you to be there. Like, go and be where you can be effective.
I like that. I do like that a lot. Janelle, do you have anything to say on that?
I definitely agree, and I think for us as young people, and I'm sure Tony, I've had to deal with a lot of persuading parents, and I'm sure Tony has as well, where your parents want you to go down a certain route because that's the secure, that's the safe, that's no. Listen. You've got to listen to yourself, and I think it's really, really hard when your parents think, "Oh my God, you'd be a great doctor." La la la. Well, I'm not interested in being a doctor. Okay, if that's not what you want to do what you want to do. And I think that the problem that we have now is that the generations above us have literally just been listening blindly. So they've gone into industries they don't necessarily like, and that's why we can see a lot of disproportional, like for example in the media, there's not many black people in the media at all. And the first time I came, or not the first time, but one time I came to BBC when I was a student at the University of Nottingham. I just came because they were doing a event it was like 6 o'clock news with Fiona Bruce, and university students were invited to come and just buy a ticket. It's like £10. I was the only black person there. There was one Asian girl and everyone else was white.
Whoa.
A lot of that is not to do with black people not liking the media, because you can literally go online and you see like so many black people with YouTube channels that want to do like presenting, but they're doing it on their YouTube channel, but they're not looking for mainstream media. So when you look at mainstream media, the stories don't make sense to what you're hearing in your community because you've decided to listen to your parents and just do a YouTube channel. Like, do a YouTube channel because that fuels your ambition. What we need to really do is understand that we're in charge of our future and say, hold on, I need to prove myself to my parents then. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it. If I want to do it, if I want to be successful in that route, I'm going to be successful in that route. Because for me, like ever since I was a youth MP, everyone's been like, she's going to be a politician. I don't want to be a politician right now. So I'm not just going to go for it. I don't want to do that right now. Right now, I want to make some documentaries.
And do your thing,
Exactly. And that's okay.
We do love to see it. So okay, let's go to one of the questions that we have, and then we'll round up. So obviously this is IdentityX. We're looking at Black Britain and the future of it. So in your personal opinion, anyway, what do you think the future holds for young Black Britons? What do you think? Let's go to Tony. Let's start with you.
Sure. Look, it's interesting. I wrote a 10,000 word research paper on this in June with some great co-authors. Shout out to Maro, Demi, and Tabitha. And we're just looking through like the effects of automation and robotics, COVID-19, all of these things on the future of the Black community. And look, I think Janelle made a great point. I'm less critical on the generations before us because I don't think that's a right assessment. But what I would say is that we have a lot more tools available now, and that's something I'm really excited and interested about exploring and writing about more, is how much the internet, how much these platforms give us the space to even think that we can imagine to do the things that we wanted to do. YouTube can be a great platform for you to hone your skills to then go and launch into mainstream media. And our parents didn't have that. Now that we have that, it's incumbent on us to use it. So one of the conclusions of the paper was about, tech, media, all of these things that are opening up and are creating huge economic opportunities and social influence. Like, let's go and occupy that. And I think that's why, I agreed with the joke that Esther made about, JP Morgan at 3 a.m. I don't know many people who that's actually truly their passion. There are some guys who love finance and there are people that should be there. But if you need the early salary or whatever, do it for a few years and then go and pursue what you want to pursue. And I think the future of Black Britain looks like everybody utilizing their skill set to the best of their abilities, living happily, living excellently, and then that will contribute to growth for all of us. But that's how I see it.
What advice would you give? Because we are university students at the end of the day. What advice would you give to university students to follow through on what they believe in? Because like Janelle highlighted, there is definitely that cultural clash, that generational clash when it comes to us as students wanting to pursue the careers that we want to pursue. So what do you advise to younger people below you, or even younger people above you anyway, we're the same age, with regards to following through with what they believe in. Let's start with Janelle.
Well, this is my advice. I've taken this from a piece written by Dr. Juwanza. My brother actually showed me it, and it's something that I think everybody should know. So this is the only thing I really have to say, would be to develop your self-esteem. Like, you need to ask yourself, do you love yourself for real? And I feel like in this sort of society we live in, Black people don't really love themselves like that. So we decorate ourselves a lot more than other people, and that's just the truth. And that is because our identity and our culture has been ruined. So we need to make sure we invest time into getting to know ourselves. Because, you know, a lack of self-identity and a lack of self-knowledge will lead to low self-esteem. We won't be able to speak up when we go to certain places. We won't be able to talk to certain people because we just don't feel like we are good enough to do so. And so once you know who you are, you can actually start to love yourself and understand who you are. Then you can ask yourself, why am I here? Why am I on earth? You know, what does this mean? And then you figure out what your purpose is. Okay. So if, you know, to speak to people in university right now, I just say, understand yourself, who you are, love yourself. I think it's very, very difficult, and it does sound really like generic me saying this, but like being a black woman are the most disrespected people in the world, right? So we have to do a lot of things to make ourselves seem more respectable. So, you know, they call it respectability politics and whatnot. So, you know, I think the excessive, okay, I'm going to say this, I might get hate for this too, but oh well. Like, I think the excessive, you know, people wear wigs all the time, every single day. You don't love yourself. I'm sorry. It's not nice. It's not my experience. Okay. Don't even act, because it's really sad, because Black women have been told they're not beautiful. You know, in the days of slavery, their heads were shaved by slave masters. They were abused. Like the amount of things that happened that seeped into our society that we don't even realize. We need to wake up and realize. That's why I was like, that other girl, she just, like, even Nicole TV, she was so jokes, you know? People loved her because she was authentically herself, and we don't see that enough, especially with the Black women. With Black men as well, there's other issues in terms of like hair and stuff like that. Black men don't necessarily have the same issues as women, but Black men do have a lot of other issues in terms of knowing themselves and what they stand for. So I do think that just love yourself, and it is very hard to do so. It's very hard to love yourself, but it is something worth taking a step back. Whilst you're at university, you've got 3 years to kind of chill, figure yourself out, understand yourself, love yourself, and yeah, that's my advice.
Both gems of advice, I think. So Tony, we've got a question for you, and then we've got another question on climate change, and then we're gonna round up. Looking to round up at 5:30. Sorry for keeping you guys. I mean, I'm just enjoying the conversation, you know.
Yeah.
Enjoying the gems.
We finish at 5:30, right?
Yeah, we'll round up at 5:30.
Okay. Cool.
So Tony, the question for you is, Tony, tell us how to get startup funding.
Be white, middle class, and go to Russell. Startup funding. It's essentially you get an idea, you probably build a team, and then you need what is called a pitch deck, which is essentially literally a PowerPoint presentation. Make sure it looks as good as possible. Either build the skill set or pay someone to help you do the design. Like, I look back at our previous decks, and like, it's embarrassing. The first time I tried to do a deal in the start of second year, like, I'm surprised the people didn't laugh me out of the room from how bad the design was. Now, like, I won't lie, I would flex my deck anywhere because like, it looks sick and you feel good, and when it's visually presented right, and you can never, like, the way you understand how important that pitch deck is, and how you A, need to visually present it, but B, more importantly, use your words to craft the story. Because at the end of the day, investors are investing in a story of a company and an opportunity, and the ability for a team to execute on that and overcome any challenges, is that you literally send your pitch deck by email to potential investors, and they decide whether or not they ever want to meet you based off of how good your deck is. And so when I said that we got a call from this amazing investor who fast-tracked us, they never met us, but they read a deck that was so good that they skipped 4 stages of that process because of it. So I want you to invest as much time as possible into your deck. And then if you do get the meetings off of your deck, that means you get invited to a coffee or to a pitch. And that's for you to really, really get to sit down with an investor and convince them. But what you want to do is have, again, a crafted pitch, so separate to your slide deck, but really understand what the opportunity is, why you're the right person for it, why this is the right time, what the risks are and how you're going to overcome it. But everything comes down to your story as a business and your ability as a team to execute it. So one of the great things you can do, to round up really quickly, is to get what we call traction, which means, it's really difficult to raise money just saying, hey, I have this idea, give me 100K or 200K, or even if it's 10K a grant to go build it, because no one's going to do that. What you want to do is you want to show that you've done something proactive, whether that means if you can't build a product. So we didn't build a product before we raised money because we needed to hire the technical talent to code. But what we had done is we had gone and built amazing relationships in the space that we wanted to work in, which other people didn't have, which is an advantage. We had surveyed hundreds and talked to hundreds of businesses on the ground. We did hundreds of 1-hour phone conversations. So we knew exactly what the problem was. We did everything that we could control without the money, so that the only thing we needed is the money. What people are never going to do, and what I think some entrepreneurs from our background who haven't had the exposure, is feel like the money comes first. Like, resources follow resourcefulness. So what you want to do is maximize every option you have. And actually, lastly, I know I'm waffling, but it's important, and we don't really talk about raising money or getting into venture in our community, is that what happens is you are selling part of your company to someone. Like, so no one is giving you money. You are selling ownership of your company in a capitalist world to someone in exchange for your idea. So what it means is you want to do as much work as possible beforehand so that you're selling less of your company when you get money. So let's say you have a great idea, but no money, and you haven't done any work. Someone might be like, okay, cool, I'll give you 50 grand, but I want half your company for it, or I want 60% of your company for it. And you could have done a little bit more work and have been able to say, okay, I'll give you that 50 grand for 25%. So it's also in your interest to do the work, because what you don't want to do is to get the money, build something great, and someone else owns 60% of what you're doing because you weren't clued up. So yeah, there's a lot of complex things. If you want to reach out to me, my Instagram is Cryptony on Instagram with a 0 instead of an O. I'm always happy to talk about anything Black community and business.
Don't worry, he is Acid on our social media platforms, so you should find it there if you want to reach out to him. The last question that we have got, because of time. So this question is a very interesting question, and I'd love to hear your opinions on it. But the question reads, let me read it out. The question reads, the climate crisis is an existential threat to everyone, but the African continent is particularly vulnerable. What steps should our generation do to prevent irreversible climate change?
Well,
Bro.
That's the question.
I think we need to actually understand, first and foremost, who should really take ownership of the issue of climate change. Now, climate change was something that was introduced. This issue of climate change was introduced by Western countries that were racing to develop the fastest. And then you've seen countries in the East develop, and then you see Africa not developed at all. But we're the ones that are going to have a water crisis in the next 20 years. One of the things that I would say is to put pressure on the UK government. The US government are trying to worm their way out of climate, pretending like it doesn't exist. We need to make sure that whilst we're here, to use our power to speak about the climate issue and get the Western countries to really try and fix up. In terms of how we can better Africa, I'd say the use of solar panels, I believe, is going to be a huge game changer in terms of power in the world. And I think that there are companies that exist already, and Tony, I'm sure you know this as well, but we should really try and get investment into work to building solar panel use in Africa, because one of the biggest issues that Africa has is unpredictable electricity. And if we're able to sort that out, and young Africans, and as you know, Africa has a youthful population, so a lot of young people, just like us, minds moving quickly, whatever, they just need that solid internet connection. Boom, business will be great. If we sort out that one thing of solar panels, a place, we actually need solar panels where the sun actually shines all day, super, super hot, then we'll be able to sort out a lot of Africa's issues. But one of the issues we need to be looking out for is that water crisis. The sub-Saharan Africa is going to be in danger if we don't sort that out as soon as possible.
Tony, what do you think?
I don't have much more to add. Have to echo, as Janelle said, firstly, where responsibility lies. We can talk all day about how Africa is strategically underdeveloped to other people's advantage, and then always ends up being on the receiving end of the adverse effects. I think, don't quote me on it, but I remember reading a stat, something like 3% of the contribution to climate, to CO2 emissions, comes from the continent. There are companies in specific sectors that contribute more than that. So there is very little contribution, but a lot of the adverse effects face us. And the annoying and difficult thing is that because of the way African leadership and positioning in the global foreign policy spaces is, African leaders have very weak policy levers to hold any other region to account. So we don't have a particularly strong African Union, and even if we did, even a whole African Union probably wouldn't be able to pattern the other nations into taking that seriously. So what's really exciting is the African Free Trade Continental Agreement. Janelle talks greatly about what solar powers can do, and I'm very interested in the solar and energy space long term. I think another thing that we can think about is how we trade responsibly and sustainably between African nations, how we use that to build better markets, and how we use that to grow our leverage in terms of building a unified African Union that can then exert influence on the rest of the world to be accountable. Without that, it's unlikely that Nigeria or South Africa or Ghana or Kenya or any other African nation unilaterally, which just means as one nation, can exert that influence. But all 50 plus countries can.
Our issue, I think that what you said is fantastic, but our issue with leadership, which we've had since the independence, before the independence, is intervention, Western intervention. So Absolutely. What's really difficult is how we can, it's so sad, but how can we get to this point where it will start to happen without intervention? And I think that's probably one of the hardest things we'll have to tackle till this day. And for local governments all around Africa, will they actually be African governments, or will they be Western-led African governments?
Or East Asian-led African governments? I tweeted it today. I literally said, we need international attention, not international intervention. It's a very difficult cause, and there's also historical examples of people or of nations and corporations destabilizing African countries as they make progress, which is why it's so difficult to get solidarity within one nation, let alone across a whole continent. But that's the battle our generation has to fight, and we have to get it right. It's not an option. We just have to figure it out.
I really
love too much polarization at the moment.
I love what you guys have just said there in terms of we need national attention and not international. No, we need international attention, not international intervention. I actually love that saying. But anyway, we've got 5 minutes left. I just want to thank Janelle. I want to thank Tony. I want to thank Toby, David, and Esther for joining us for our conference this year. Our conference has actually been a complete success. Despite the circumstance, it was really stressful to plan it, but God is good. We thank you so much for joining us. We thank everyone that's tuned in as well. Special shout out to NSTV for providing us this platform. Y'all are amazing. Y'all are amazing.
Best broadcaster.
Tremendous help. They've been a tremendous help. Big shout out to Ben, actually, who's in charge of live streaming and everything. He's been incredible in this process. Looking forward, so membership, if you didn't know already, there is an event going on today at it's not Olivia, it's Glass House Bar in Nottingham. There's an event, it's a tabled event. So please, if you haven't got your tickets already, I'm so sorry. But if you have, please make your way there. You will see us after. And also merchandise as well. The society's releasing merchandise. You see it on our Instagram page, looking drippy up in here. So please, make sure you register your interest for that as well. Also, last thing, the ACS GSOC Society and NSTV are filming a documentary. We're filming a documentary, or we're doing something. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we're doing a documentary. We're doing a documentary series for Black History Month, and we would love for our membership, to get involved and be interviewed. So interviews are going to be happening on Thursday and Friday. Friday. So if you're really interested, please message me. You have my number. My number's in the group chat. Message me, and you'll be added into the group chat, so to speak. But that is it for the NAAC conference this year. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you soon. See you later, everyone.
It's that West Coast point of view. Easy when it's always summertime fun. You and I carefree and to do. Who cares what the people think? 'Cause it's that West Coast point of view. Easy when it's always summertime fun. You and I carefree and to do. Who cares what the people think? Just another sunny